Relevance in leadership is rarely lost overnight. It fades quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. And the pattern is already visible in organizations everywhere. Some leaders still believe leadership is about presence, sitting longer, watching employees closely, measuring hours instead of outcomes. But the world has already moved forward. Work has changed, leadership has changed, and many leaders have not. Now understand this carefully. The leaders who will become irrelevant in the next few years are not necessarily inexperienced. In fact, many of them are highly experienced. They know the systems, they understand operations, they have spent decades inside organizations. But experience alone is no longer enough, because the modern workplace no longer rewards stability without evolution, and that is where many leaders quietly begin falling behind. They resist flexibility, they struggle with modern work dynamics, they hold on to outdated control-based leadership styles, they measure commitment through visibility instead of impact, and somewhere along the way, they stop learning. That is the dangerous part. The moment a leader believes, "I already know enough," their decline silently begins, because leadership relevance today is directly connected to adaptability. The world is evolving faster than ever before, technology is evolving, communication is evolving, teams are evolving, human expectations are evolving, and leadership can no longer operate from old frameworks while expecting future-level results. Employees today do not only want authority, they want clarity, trust, flexibility, emotional intelligence, vision, growth. And leaders who cannot evolve emotionally, strategically, and professionally will slowly lose influence, even if they still hold positions of power. That is the reality many organizations are already experiencing. On the surface, some leaders still look successful, stable, respected, experienced, but underneath their thinking has stopped evolving. And eventually, they become disconnected from the future, not because they are incapable, but because they became too comfortable with old definitions of leadership. Now compare that with the leaders who will stay relevant. These leaders operate differently. They stay curious. They continuously learn. They ask questions. They adapt quickly. They focus on outcomes instead of control. They understand that leadership today is less about authority and more about enabling performance. They are willing to unlearn outdated habits, and that takes humility, because the future belongs to leaders who can evolve faster than the environment around them changes. This is why emotional intelligence is becoming more important than rigid hierarchy, why adaptability is becoming more valuable than seniority alone, why learning agility is becoming a leadership superpower. Because the next generation of leadership will not be built only on experience, it will be built on relevance, and relevance comes from evolution, not titles, not tenure, not comfort, evolution. So the real question leaders should ask themselves is not, am I experienced enough? The real question is, am I evolving fast enough for the future I want to lead? Because leadership is no longer about surviving change,